Welcome to the Chasing Brighter podcast, the podcast created as a guide to make midlife the best life.
Are you ready to embrace the next chapter of your life with confidence and excitement? Your best life is just a listen away. You know, we have about 30 days left of summer. Are you feeling the shift of seasons?
In Chicago, we hold on to summer as long as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And then we quickly transition. So I really feel like I start to feel the shift.
Yeah.
After Labor Day weekend is like my mental shift. But I think everyone's a little different because sometimes you really feel that shift from back to school. Right?
You know, with seasonal changes, it is warm here until Halloween. So we have a warm season for a long time, but a lot of us start bringing in those pumpkins and pumpkin lattes because we're ready for cooler weather, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I think I love fall. It's my favorite season, but I really love summer too. And I feel like when we were kids, when school started, it was fall. Now I feel like summer doesn't start in Chicago till like July. And so I want like my 3 months per season kind of thing.
Well, you know, as the season shifts, we do too, right? Because nature reminds us that transition is not only natural, but it's necessary. And as the earth slows down, sheds, blooms again, we do too. I love that. We're always growing, learning, changing, evolving. And as we head into fall, it's a time of year that invites reflection and recalibration. Our energy shifts, so then our needs shift.
Yes. And so, I think that is, when we need to think about, it's really no better time to anchor into rituals that fill our cup rather than drain it.
Yeah.
Simple, intentional practices that ground you, soothe your nervous system, and create a space for clarity and calm. When life feels fast, which it really does, especially as we come into this back to school time of year and a lot of fall activities start to take place, and even like NFL football season, it's a seasonal change for everyone. Rituals offer a moment to slow down. And so, we did this in the beginning of summer, right? In terms of our summer rituals. And so, when everything feels out of control, rituals can really become a gentle anchor. And, I think even a simple ritual for me, Jess, is my morning coffee.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that is my anchor. So today's conversation isn't about perfection or productivity. It's really about presence. It's about creating rhythms that honor who you are right now, not who you think you're supposed to be.
Yeah. We want to kind of start too, maybe this is confusing. So what are the differences between routines and rituals? I like to think about it that routines are about function, right? A routine is a series of actions that you do regularly, brushing your teeth, right? Making breakfast. And then rituals are a feeling, Rituals, on the other hand, add intention, meaning, or presence. So it's a difference between rushing through a task, right? Or using that moment to ground yourself. So routines keep us organized and rituals reconnect us to ourselves. So when we turn simple acts into rituals, lighting a candle, taking 3 deep breaths, maybe sitting in a room with sun while you're sipping your coffee, right? We can create a sense of calm, safety, and inner steadiness.
I love it. One of the, when I think about the way I kind of interpret ritual too, is it's like, I love that you talked about, Jess, about like reconnecting us to ourselves. It's like, think about things that you do that like really fill your cup, right? There are things that fill your cup and things that don't. And so, rituals help us regulate our nervous system, which is so critical, because when your nervous system is overstimulated by stress, decision fatigue, emotional overload, rituals can help offer that reset. Intentional rituals, they can signal safety to your body. They create predictability to reduce anxiety. They anchor you to your present moment, and they help you shift out of that flight mode and really into like a rest and digest mode, which I really like that concept.
Yes, nervous system regulation is so important,
Yes.
especially if we experience any of those anxiety based disorders, panic disorder, OCD, PTSD, general anxiety disorder. Being able to regulate our nervous system, like you're saying, is kicking us out of fight, flight, or freeze when we're go, 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 right? And then when we're not regulating our nervous system, right, we're causing inflammation. We have the stress response, cortisol pumping through our bodies, right? And so, like you're saying, a ritual really kind of helps calms and centers us.
Yes. Yes. So, what we want to talk about are some small, consistent practices. They don't have to take too long, but over time, they can really help build resilience and regulate you emotionally.
Some ideas that we have for a mindful morning. Even just 5 to 10 minutes of intention in your morning can change the tone of your entire day.
100%. Yes.
Here are some flexible ways to start. Start with breath, not your phone. So before we dive into the noise of the world, take 3 deep belly breaths. You think of a belly breath when you're breathing in, your belly fills up like a balloon, right? When you're breathing out, your belly button goes to your spine. And this signals your nervous system that you're safe. And it gives you a moment of calm before reactivity kicks in.
I love that. One of the other things that you can do is just a 3-minute, 2 to 3 minute journaling.
Yeah.
And we know that that's so important in so many conversations we've had. However you do journaling, you can kind of spend a couple minutes with just some quick prompts like, what do I need today? Emotionally, physically, and mentally. I love that. What do you need today? Physically, mentally, and emotionally, and really kind of sitting with that and thinking about what that is. Another one is, what's the one thing I can let go of? And I think about that as like, what's the one thing I can let go of today? So a lot of us have things that are just kind of weighing on us. Think about those things that like really we can let go of. Because when you do that, it really helps create emotional clarity and it helps you prioritize your own self-awareness of what's happening over the perfection of this idea of what you think needs to be going on.
We can identify movement that feels nourishing and not punishing. So we can let go of rigid workouts. We think we need to be like yelled at, screamed at, beat up our body, right? We can tune in instead to some gentle stretching, yoga, a walk outside, or a dance break. I love how we had Susie Izzo on. I don't know if it was season 1, season 2, and she talked about just doing like a couple sun salutations when you get out of bed. So even things like that, just some gentle, nourishing movement. And asking yourself, like, does this movement feel good to my body today? And allowing ourselves grace and compassion that it might be different from one day to the next. And then that will build a sustainable relationship with wellness rooted in self-kindness, And we want to look at like, what's a realistic routine for real women, because life is full, it's messy, it's unpredictable, and our routines should work with that, not against that. I know you love this, Kelly, habit stacking, right? Didn't you read Atomic Habits?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No, this is amazing. So, we transitioned from the morning rituals, mindful mornings, and then really like, I love this, Jess. I love like, what are realistic routines for real women? And habit stacking has got to be number one, right? Like you're doing your journaling after, maybe with your coffee in the morning. It doesn't have to be too complicated. Maybe you're doing some stretching, right? While your shower heats up or while you're making breakfast for the kids and you're waiting for something to get warmed up.
Maybe you're attaching a new habit, right? To something you're already doing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I think this is like from the Atomic Habits book. This is the best way for you to do something new. I think these are some great examples of ways you can attach a new habit to something you already do. So if you're thinking about a new habit, think about some things that you're doing every day and how you can use that activity and attach another behavior to it that you're trying to add.
Yeah. So if you want to do regular daily affirmations, put on a Post-it note, stick on your bathroom mirror, and read it while you're brushing your teeth. I think for a lot of us who are adulting, coffee is our first thing. So I always recommend to my clients, whatever new habit they're trying to add, stick it on your coffee pot. Let's say there's new vitamins you want to take, new medication you have to take. set it on, if you can take it in the morning, set it on top of your coffee pot, put your journal on top of your coffee pot. Like so many of us, the first thing we do is go in for that coffee. So what is a reminder or something you can sit there? I had a client who really wanted to journal, and she had a journal in her home office at her desk, and she's retired. Guess what? Let's put the journal. What are we doing? We're watching Wheel of Fortune or Price is Right. Let's put the journal on the couch, right? Put the journal on your TV remote. So kind of look at what time of day you want to add the new habit, and then just stack that with a routine habit, you know?
And it's really about kind of meeting yourself where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you
Yeah.
can't like totally jump into something new. It's really figuring out where am I at? What's my regular things I'm doing today? And what are those small changes I can make with that?
Yeah, because those micro habits build over time, and then they require like minimal extra effort, so it doesn't
Yes.
feel so overwhelming.
Yes. Another thing we want to talk about is how to give yourself grace if your day goes sideways.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a week. Sometimes it's like every day something unexpected happens. But, guess what? Some days things aren't going to happen the way you expect it to. And that's okay. Routines are really not about perfection. It's a framework for you to kind of get through your day. So missing a day isn't a failure. It's just part of being a human. And you need to extend that same compassion that you would do to a friend to yourself. And so I think that's so critical. If you think about sometimes when you're beating
Yeah.
yourself up as like, if my friend went through this day or if this happened to my friend, what would I tell them? And think about how you can treat yourself the same.
I think it's important to reach out to your village during those times. I know for me, for instance, you had saw me today. I was reading a message from my trainer because I'm not going to be able to hit my normal routine fitness goals this week because I'm doing a little bit of traveling. And so she was just like so supportive and saying, "You're doing amazing. You're so dedicated. Look at all the stuff you've done. This is awesome. That's okay. These are things you can do." And the more we hear that and have a supportive network, we can start internalizing that in a great way of telling ourselves that, right? Like, oh yeah, I remember last year around this time, it got kind of messy, but that's okay. I'm going to get back to it and keep trying. And again, like you're saying, talking to yourself like a friend.
Yeah, yeah. Finally, the last item here is about your weekly reset rituals. So you want to book in your week with intention. So think about those as anything from like your Sunday night intentions, where maybe you're taking a moment of calm, you're lighting a candle, you're reviewing your calendar, and you're setting your intentions for the week. If you have a legend planner or any kind of weekly planner, this is always a great time to kind of reflect on the week you had prior and think about the week coming up and what are those things you want to tackle, maybe looking at your goals in different aspects of your life.
Yeah, you bookend it with like a Sunday reflection and a Friday reflection, right? So like on the Friday, you're asking what went well, what did I learn, what was helpful. So then when you're planning for the next day, right? So like if your routine that you're trying to do is get up every single day at 5 a.m. and work out, and then on Friday, you weren't able to do that because the kids had to go to school early or you had really early work meetings or had to travel somewhere else, reflect on that on Friday and that doesn't really work. And so then for Sunday, maybe something we want to add to our routine is a different kind of movement at a different time.
Mm-hmm.
So these rituals create closure, clarity, and momentum without like the overwhelm. So just a couple time, again, bookending the week reflections.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think when we talk about this particular episode and really this whole idea of us kind of transitioning with the season, how to really stay grounded, be glowing and unbothered as we kind of move into fall, we really want to think about a couple things. But like in terms of a journal prompt, the question is, what's one thing you could do every morning to connect with yourself before the world demands your energy and attention? So think about that one small thing you could do every morning, and think about that habit stacking we talked about, where you can kind of stack it on to some of the other habits that you already do every day.
Yeah, so you're just kind of identifying rituals. If it's something new, like Kelly's saying, stack it to an old habit, right? And then giving yourself grace. It's not going to maybe go the way you want it. And then reset, So identify something new, give yourself grace, and then review how it went. Rituals don't have to be perfect. They just have to be yours.
Yes.
Grounded women glow differently.
So tag us with your favorite morning ritual We love seeing how you're chasing brighter one breath at a time. Thanks for listening today.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend.
Are you ready to chase brighter days ahead? Subscribe to Chasing Brighter now, and let's embark on this exciting journey together.